Betrayed and broken, they planned their desperate move. Let's go to the Blue House. Let's ask those who abandoned us why. January 21, 1968, 9:30 p.m. Near the Blue House in Seoul, a sudden police check. The men looked tired, but their eyes were cold. It began there. 31 North Korean commandos crossed the border to assassinate President Park Chung-hee. They came close to the Blue House. A firefight erupted. The commandos scattered, and a manhunt began. 29 were killed, 1 escaped, and only 1 was captured. The captured man was Kim Shin-jo. Surrounded, he held a grenade but didn't pull the pin. He said, "I came to cut off Park Chung-hee's head." His words shook the nation. Security was tightened, and a new plan was born. An eye for an eye, a unit to target their leader. KCIA Director Kim Hyung-wook proposed a special unit to assassinate or retaliate against the North Korean leadership. On April 1, 1968, Unit 684 was created on Silmido Island. Its mission, to assassinate Kim Il-sung. Its codename, Osori, Weasel. Silmido, a small, uninhabited island. Beautiful, but what would happen there would be anything but. Recruitment was secret. They couldn't use death row inmates. Instead, they recruited civilians with promises of rank and pay. 31 men were gathered, the same number as the North Korean commandos, each with their own story heading to Silmido. April 1968, Silmido. Commander Kim Eung-soo greeted the recruits. The island was their prison for the next 3 years. The first month was relatively good food, but that didn't last. The diet turned to barley and meager soup. Training was hell. 8 hours a day, thousands of hours total. The goal, to turn them into human weapons. They had to memorize maps perfectly, as no documents were allowed. They had to navigate by memory alone. During running drills, they were chased by military dogs. The goal was to run faster than the enemy. They learned to kill silently, neck-twisting, strangulation, precise strikes. Their hands became deadly tools. Shooting drills were even harsher. They learned to aim blindfolded, relying on instinct alone. They became stronger than their enemy, but lost much in the process. Beating with bats was common. They were deprived of letters, news, and leave. Silmido was no different than a prison. 7 men died during training. The remaining felt a growing fear. Were they just going to die on this island? They held on to hope. They would assassinate Kim Il-sung and become heroes. That hope kept them going. They were ready, but the mission never came. Months turned into years. They just kept training. In 1969, Nixon announced the Nixon Doctrine, shifting U.S. policy in Asia. It had a huge impact on Korea. The U.S. sought détente with the Soviet Union and China. The Korean peninsula needed to de-escalate. The KCIA director was replaced. The new director was lukewarm to the mission. It became less realistic. The men of Silmido knew nothing of this. They only knew that the mission wasn't coming. Rumors spread of cancellation. Worse rumors said they would be killed to maintain secrecy. As the 1970s began, things worsened. In 1971, talks began for reunions between families separated by the war. The climate of peace sealed their fate. The mission was impossible now, but what to do with them? They couldn't be released into society. Supplies dwindled. Food became like dog food. Even fuel was scarce. Their promised pay never came. They had been abandoned. The rage began to build. Despair turned to anger, anger to hatred. One night they met in secret. They would die here. The only way to protect the secret was to kill them. Betrayed and broken, they planned their desperate move. Let's go to the Blue House. Let's ask those who abandoned us why. Someone said, let's go to the Blue House. Let's ask those who abandoned us why. They decided August 23, 1971 was the day. They killed the instructors. They had followed orders, but there was no choice. They hijacked a bus towards Seoul. They would tell the world what had happened. A firefight with the army stopped them. They hijacked another bus, heading to Seoul. They were surrounded in Seoul. They knew it was over. They only wanted the world to know. They pulled the pins on their grenades. They wouldn't be captured, as they were trained. Explosions. The bus was filled with bodies. They had taken their own lives. 4 survived, to be tried and executed. Their bodies were never recovered. Unit 684 was erased from history. The families waited, never knowing what happened. One member survived, but was not on Silmido that day. He fought to clear their names. In 2003, the film Silmido shocked the nation. People learned the truth. Truth was hard to find. Documents were missing. The operation secret. In 2024, the defense minister apologized. It was too late. Silmido remains, but the tragedy is gone. Nature remembers nothing. But people must remember what happened on that island, the fate of those young men. Kim Shin-jo lived, became a pastor, and died peacefully. The 684 died earlier. They weren't winners or losers, just victims of the era, used and discarded. Their names are mostly unknown. Only 4 are remembered, the rest are lost. They wanted to be heroes, but were given dog food and beatings, then neglect. What did they think on that bus? Anger? Despair? Hope? What flashed before their eyes as the grenades exploded? We'll never know. The waves still crash on Silmido, but there are no soldiers now. Listen to the wind, and you might hear their voices, their songs and cries. The 684 existed, and they died, a unit born and killed by the state. The wheels turned that day in 1968. Kim Shin-jo's words sent them to Silmido. What if? History is meaningless. What happened, happened.